Hey everybody, welcome back to Record-ology. Okay, this is going to be an awesome show. I love these shows where we get to experiment with things. Okay, today I'm going to be playing around with this. This is the Ortofon 2M78 Mono 78 cartridge. This is designed to play 78 RPM records. Now, a little bit about 78 RPM records on this show. We've talked about it a lot in the past. There's a lot of players, including suitcase players, that will play 78s. Question is, will they play them properly? Because a 78 RPM record has a wider groove. It has a 3 mil groove width versus a micro groove record on a modern record, which is 0.7. So needles or styli on record players that are designed to only ride in a thinner groove will be lost in a giant groove, and you get a lot of noise and it doesn't sound optimal. So the question is then, how do you really make that sound good? Well, you get a 3 mil stylus, and Ortofon makes one. So we're going to check that out. Not only that, but we're going to listen to the same 78 RPM record in a variety of ways. We're going to play it on a suitcase player. We're going to play it on a higher end record player with a micro groove stylus. We're going to play it on a higher end player with the proper stylus. And then we're also going to listen to it on the old 1917 Vita phonograph. So you can get a side-by-side comparison of how they all sound. You're not going to want to miss this.
Come out tonight, can't you come out tonight? Buffalo gals, can't you come out tonight?
Welcome to Record-ology.
Okay, you guys, and here we go. We are going to be listening to the same section of this record on 3 different record players with 4 different kinds of stylus, or styli. This is the record. It's a Blue Danube Waltz. It's a 12-inch 78 RPM record. Typically, the 12-inch 78s were classical, where the 10-inch were the pop music. This is my favorite sleeve, by the way. I love this thing. Magic Brain. Look at the graphics here. Just super, super, super cool. So this will be really neat. This will be really cool. I may be the first person in the history of time to play a 12-inch 78 on a suitcase player. But again, I'm going to take one for the team here, you guys. I'm not sure if this particular one has a ruby or a sapphire stylus or a diamond stylus. I'm not 100% sure. We could really take this to the nth degree and try various kinds of stylus materials. But we're going to generalize and just try it on different technologies. So this is going to be a micro groove stylus. So it's going to be the 0.7 mil thin micro groove that is common for 45s and 12-inch LPs and modern records. The older records have obviously the wider groove, the 3 mil stylus. But initially I'm going to try out different cartridges and styluses here, and let's kind of listen to what they sound like. So in the case of this suitcase player, I really want to see if there's a huge difference in sound quality, playing it on this versus a higher end record player, and then playing it on an old time Victrola, and then we're obviously going to try out this beautiful brand new OM78 cartridge from Ortofon, which will be really, really cool. Now, in order to provide you the best recording possible, I am actually going to be using a little secret weapon of mine, which I'm going to show you here in a second, and I'm going to tell you exactly how I did that. But before we get started here, I do want to let you know that playing a 78 on a micro groove is probably going to give us a little bit more noise because it's such a thin needle. Okay, so here's the Zoom H2N portable digital recorder. I'll put a link in the description. I've talked about this thing a lot. I just love this thing. I'm sort of an amateur ambient sound, nature sound recording hobbyist, and I really enjoy it because of the capabilities it has. Obviously got a line input, so when we do line input recordings and we're demoing equipment, this is often what we're using to do that. I also do some voiceover work for the show using this microphone. It's essentially an entire recording studio with ultra high resolution wave file capabilities right in the palm of your hand. Absolutely phenomenal. So my initial plan was to do this line input, as you can see me doing here. I started picking up all kinds of radio and signal noise coming out of this unit, and I didn't want that to get in the way of really what it sounds like It helps if you have a SD card in, by the way. I always do that. I always forget that. But anyway, my initial thought was to do the line input, but this one was so noisy. The line output was so noisy with all that interference that I decided to use the built-in microphone instead. So yeah, this thing in terms of microphone, it's got an XY stereo mic on the front. It's got a mid-side mic on the back, which is a figure 8 microphone going sideways, and then that mono mic shooting out the back. And you can do 2-channel and you can do 4-channel surround, and I believe you can even down mix stuff into Dolby, which is super, super cool. So this will be beyond the capability that we need to, but you will be able to hear in its purest form that I was able to recreate the sound quality of a 78 on this record player. And this will definitely do the trick. So just make sure we've got everything squared away. The SD card is formatted and ready to go. And we're going to go ahead and drop the stylus here in a second. You'll be able to hear what it sounds like. Again, I ended up going back and recording this using the microphone rather than the line in for this particular one. The other ones are all going to be line input except for the Victrola. But I'll explain that as we go along. So without further ado, let's go ahead and unclip our tone arm. Let's drop our stylus, and let's go ahead and hear what the 78 RPM record sounds like on this ceramic cartridge, which is going to be microgroove. So here we go. Okay, and no surprise there, it was noisy as heck. That's because that's such a small stylus and such a wide groove. However, it was, not terrible. You could definitely, you could hear the music, and it was, like I said, in reviewing these players in the past, I've said it's doable. It's not the ideal sound solution, but it's not so far beyond, doable that it's not worth having. So having a 78 feature on the suitcase players is actually still a cool thing. But now we're going to move on to a higher end record player. This is going to be the revered Audio-Technica LP120, and this record is going to fit right over there. I've got the acrylic stylus on there, which is cool. Now, I'm going to be using an Audio-Technica sort of mid-range cartridge on here. This is going to be a magnetic cartridge. The previous one was ceramic and a blunt conical, kind of more of a blunt stylus on the first one. This is going to be an elliptical, so it'll be a little sharper. It was a very dirty record. Look at that. I should have cleaned it off the first time, but I don't think it'll matter too much. But yeah, this one is going to be a little sharper, but it will kind of give us an idea of what a magnetic cartridge with a microgroove stylus will sound like playing a 78. So without further ado, here we go with round 2. Let's give it a listen, see how it sounds. So it was a different kind of sound. And at first you kind of heard this oscillating noise. Again, this is actually a finer point because of it being elliptical versus the first one, which is more of a blunt conical stylus. So the other one was kind of a rounded tip. This is more of a chiseled tip. So it is going to be kind of even, noisier and riding in the bass of that wide groove even more. But you can hear the difference there. It's kind of interesting. This is a typical half-inch mount cartridge, by the way, but sometimes I like leaving them in when I'm replacing them because I'm taking out the Audio-Technica cartridge and stylus, and we're going to put in that beautiful Ortofon 2M78 cartridge, which is designed to play 78s because it's a 3mm groove stylus. So it is designed to fill that wide groove. So that should give us significant, minimalization of that noise. Now, be careful when you unplug these. You should use some tweezers or some needle nose pliers, but I was kind of in a hurry and I just did it with my fingers. Be very careful there, and note, how you had it wired because each cartridge can be different. Okay, tearing into the box here, trying to do this fast is often rendering the box, utterly destroyed. And of course, true to form, I open it upside down, but I always do that, and I don't know why, but it always happens. Luckily, it's very well packaged, and when I flip it over here, you can see the cartridge moved a little bit, but did not fall out. So it survived me, which is a good thing. And this thing is so beautiful. I mean, this is how the other half lives. It is so cool. Look at this. This is designed, purpose-built for playing 78. So we're going to install this bad boy, and we're going to give it a listen. It's got a little stylus protector there. Definitely don't lose those. You'll notice the cool design on the front here, this kind of chiseled look. It's designed to look like the facets of a diamond. So very cool design, very, very cool, and highly functional. Now, with it, you get this awesome little kit. I was so blown away with this. Not only do you get a variety of screws for the head shell assembly, you get a little screwdriver. You even get a little brush, which is just amazing. And some literature here. This manual is super cool because it's very helpful. It shows the full line of cartridges that you can get in the series and their specifications. And it also shows, how to properly wire them, which is a big help. Look at that. You can see exactly which wire goes to which. And even the back of the cartridge, I don't think I showed this, is actually color-coded. But that was a huge, huge thing above and beyond, you guys. Now, check this out. You can get a purpose-built cartridge or a head shell assembly that's designed to fit this cartridge perfectly, and it gives it a very sleek look. That would be an awesome investment. And that would obviously fit, the 2M red, the 2M blue. We've reviewed the red in the past here. But here it is. Now, I used the long screws that I had before, and while it's in there, it's a little bit loose. So I'm going to go ahead and try this again with the shorter screws that were included. So in this bag here, we've got the shorter screws, and those are definitely the ones we want to use. I didn't see any washers in here, so if you want, you can use your old washers if you have them. Otherwise, I don't think it's a major deal breaker. You don't have to have the washers, but it seems like a good idea to me. Okay, that definitely is a tighter fit. I aligned it visually, but we're going to use a proper alignment method here in a minute. Don't forget to set your counterbalance to every time you put in a new cartridge because the weight is going to be different. And I don't go into a lot of detail on that here, but make sure you set your counterbalance. Go back and look at one of our older videos. We've referenced how to do that in the past many, many times. Okay, with it properly installed in the head shell assembly, we are going to now insert the unit into the tone arm. But before I do that, if you've ever wondered why in the back of a lot of these turntables there's this notch, the idea is that you can stick your fully loaded head shell assembly with an alternate cartridge like this in the back so that you don't have to rebalance it, realign it every time. You can have one on the tone arm, one in the back for storage, and then it's as simple as screwing it on like that when you want to switch, which is super, super cool. All right, so don't forget to set that counterbalance, you guys. That is imperative. And an elliptical stylus is going to require a much lighter tracking force. This one, I believe, is rated for 1.8 grams, so you're going to want to make sure that you check that out. All right, I'm taking off the platter mat here. It's an acrylic platter mat from Hudson Hi-Fi. This thing is on there pretty tight, and so it's taking a little bit of work fiddling with it to get it off. But when you align a cartridge and you use a protractor, you're going to want to take off, this is cool because it's got an indent on one side, it's smooth on the other. Really good for setting your anti-skate, by the way. But when you when you're doing your measurement with the protractor device like this, you're going to want to make sure that you take off the platter mat because this is designed to replace, on one side we got the strobe, which is cool, but it's designed to replace the thickness of the platter mat. So I'm going to put this on just like that, and it works as a platter mat too. We'll just leave this on now. But the basic premise is that you unclip the tone arm, you rotate the head shell and stylus, make sure the guard's off. Oops, don't take the stylus off, just take the guard off. And yeah. Okay, putting the stylus back on, taking the guard off. That's much better. It's very simple to align a cartridge. You basically place it gently, the needle right on the crosshatch, and then look down from the top and use the lines to help you guide it. And you can loosen and tighten the head shell screws until you wiggle it into perfect position, which is ideal for making sure that this is going to track properly. Then you rotate it forward and do it to the next set as well. It should align almost perfectly between both of those. Now, if you want to take it a step further, and again, the more the merrier, but none of this is not required. The alignment is, but this is not required. So if you take this VTA block, more of this stuff is from Hudson Hi-Fi, but you can set the alignment from the front to make sure that the azimuth is proper, and you can also use it to set the vertical tracking angle from the side if you have a turntable that's able to do it. Although these newer Audio Technicas cannot. You cannot adjust that from the back. But you should get an idea of whether or not your turntable's tone arm is horizontal, and it should be as much as possible. Okay, so we can set that aside. Cool tools to have, but again, you can take this to the nth degree. I'm going to go ahead and put our record on. This is going to give us a completely different sound now because it's going to be a 3mm stylus in a 3mm groove. So it's going to fill the groove. It's going to ride the groove walls. I'm going to dust it one more time here to make sure it's as clean as possible. And we should hear a major improvement on the sound reproduction. So I'm going to go ahead and lower the tone arm, and we are going to give it a listen. Here it is, the Ortophon, and here we go. Okay, as you could tell, a major reduction in noise because it was filling the groove. That sounded fantastic. Links in the description below, guys. But I would be remiss if I didn't take this opportunity to play this record on my 1917 Vita Nola phonograph. In this case, we're going to put in a brand new, fresh steel needle. They actually still make these. You can buy, parts and accessories for this, but you're supposed to put in a new needle, ideally for every side of every record. Although some of them are designed to play up to 10 sides. But that's a judgment call on your behalf, because this is an act of friction of the utmost. So you want to be very careful. But we crank it up, got the needle in there. I'll be recording ambiently. Obviously, this is an acoustic phonograph, so there's no way to do a line input. I will be recording acoustically with a Zoom microphone. Got it all cranked up. The speed may differ a little bit here. Not 100% sure if we're going to be at 78 or 80 RPMs or whatever. But keep in mind, this thing's over 100 years old. So it's a work of art, a thing of beauty. Going to get the recorder set here. We're going to go ahead and make ourselves a recording of what I hear in the room. And then we are going to rotate the reproducer over to the edge of the record and gently place it on the shellac surface. By the way, shellac is actually made from a mixture of minerals and excretions from the lac bug in India. Kind of an interesting trivia fact there. Okay, we're going to release the brake, spin it up to speed. Hopefully it'll regulate pretty well. And we're going to go ahead and give it a listen here and see what this record probably sounded like when it first came out. Here we go. Okay, and now for a side-by-side rapid-fire comparison. Here we go. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. That was really, really cool. Now, if you want to own this beautiful Ortophon 2M78 phono cartridge, check out the link in the description below for a great price on that. In the meantime, though, thank you guys for watching. Happy record hunting. We'll see you next time.
I'm not very good at this.
Neither am I.
Okay, what can we lose?
Thank you for watching Record-ology. Stay tuned for a new show every Sunday and Wednesday. Don't forget to hit subscribe and check us out on Instagram and Twitter.